are in a co-working space called Network Hub. This over here is the reception, the kitchen, which is also a coffee shop. The hot desks, which you can rent out. And over here, we have our beautiful meeting rooms. It would be pretty much impossible for us to have access to all of these amenities as a small business. So co-working is a really good option for us. All right, so now I'll take you over to the other side. That's where our desks are. So this is us. We have these two walls over here. And in the last couple of weeks, we've been building out the space into a space that works for us. It's still a work in progress, but it did really get us to start thinking about how we want to work and how we want to grow as a business. So in this video, obviously, I'm going to show you the space, but I also want to share a little bit about what we're trying to build and what this business is. Some of you guys are probably a little bit surprised right now because I haven't really talked about this before. I left my job last month and it was a really tough decision. It took me about 5 months to actually come to this conclusion, and it was a lot of going back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. Agonizing. But over the last couple of years, I realized that yes, I do love doing architecture, but I also love making videos, and I also love doing research, and I love talking about architecture. And I started to feel pretty limited in the things that I could do as an employee at the firm. And deep down, I knew I wanted to start my own business where I could do all of these things. And I also wanted to expand my YouTube channel. Just so we're clear, without YouTube, none of this would be possible. So I owe everything to you guys. And so there's the YouTube side of the business, which is the majority of the income right now. But the YouTube has been an incredible funnel for clients, and 1 out of 30 of them would actually be legit exciting projects. So the biggest thing that was holding me back, it wasn't necessarily financial, but it had more to do with my identity. I realized that so much of my sense of self-worth was coming from this idea of being an architect who worked at this fancy firm, working on these cool projects. And I'm also very conscious of the fact that a part of the success of this channel is because people associate me with that. And so if I'm not doing that, then what am I? Take this mind of mine. So when we first moved in here, our space was very much like a blank slate. Like we had this space over here, these 2 desks, and this area over here. And because we knew that we were going to be spending a lot of time here, we really wanted to make the space work for us. It helped a lot that the owner was super flexible with what we could do here. But essentially, we wanted the space to feel like ours while sharing it with other people. So we have 3 desks, 1 for me, 1 for our assistant, and 1 for Raph. Raph is an experienced filmmaker, and he's going to be handling the video production side of things. Raph started working on this full-time at the beginning of 2022, and since then, you've probably seen the production quality go up quite a bit. One of our main priorities was having a really large work surface for each of us. We use it for filming and product shots and for making models. And I also want to be able to lay out ArcD drawings and sprawl out when I'm doing research. And for some reason, I'm always finding that I'm needing more space on my desk. And initially, we thought about getting 5-foot desks with a 1-foot shelf at the end for each of us and a larger desk for the laser cutter. But after laying out all of the functions, we still wanted a larger surface. So we decided to go with these 6-foot mega desks from Ergonofis. We were trying to work with the existing color scheme in the space. So over here, we got the sway desks with this beautiful cherry wood, locally sourced and crafted in Montreal. And over here, just because we knew that we were going to be expanding so much spatially, we wanted the space to be a little bit more muted using color. And so we ended up getting the 6-foot shift desk which are super smooth in deep black. And we also got these black pegboards. We spray painted everything black so that it kind of camouflages into this charcoal wall. These desks look amazing in our space. They're super quiet. They're heat, fingerprint, and scratch resistant. And they were super easy to install. It actually took us less than half an hour. But the problem with having such a large desk surface is that we didn't have any space for shelves without encroaching into other people's areas, which we kind of already were. So there's a little bit of a hierarchy to these books. So everything that's on the top shelf are the most important books to me right now. For example, this book I was referencing when I was making the Megacities video. I've been looking at Tom Kundig's work for the house that I'm designing in California. And when I slide it in underneath my desk, then I can have this top shelf constantly within arm's reach, which is super handy because I'm referencing these books almost on a daily basis. And I also really like how it creates like a little enclosure for my area. I put the shelves on casters so that they can move around, you can connect them, and you can arrange them in different configurations. This is the EKET shelf from IKEA. They come in two depths, 9-inch and 12-inch. And to sit under the desk, I got the 9-inch ones and stacked them in this L configuration, just so that I can slide it underneath without taking up too much leg room. These 9-inch shelves can get a little bit limiting, especially for like monographs like this. You can see how it like sticks out a little bit. But 90% of my books fit in this shelf, so it was a good compromise. They didn't have any that matched the color of the desktop, so we ended up painting the top shelves to make it look like a part of the desktop. And because these shelves are supposed to be wall hung and had a really ugly back, we cut, spray painted, and glued some cardstock to the back. And the bottom shelves, I kept it the original, just so that it gets a pop of color. So when you stack them in two, the top of the shelf comes right up to the top of my desktop, which I have on my preset 1. And if I want to slide it under, I have it on presets 2. And if I want to stand, I have it on preset 3. I try to stand as much as possible. And sometimes I like to sit like this. And that's preset 4. These shift desks go from 24.5 inches to 50.2, so it's got a really good range. We aligned these pegboards to sit just above Raf's standing presets. So these controllers were originally screwed onto this side of the desk, but because I wanted it to be a little bit more flexible, I just put some Velcro on it so that I can put it here, or I can even make it disappear. For small items, if they're personal items, we keep them in this drawer. And for pretty much everything else, we're planning on keeping on these pegboards, because I don't ever want to have another conversation like this. Hey, do you know where the paper clips are? Oh my God, where did I put the X-Acto knife? Where the is my tape measure? We had this electrical switch right here, so after a couple of options, we landed on this layout. We've only installed it a couple of weeks ago, so there's not a lot on it, but compared to before, I feel like it adds a texture and creates a grid that makes it feel more intentional. When we start a video, we actually spend about 2 to 3 hours just brainstorming for ideas. And we actually started doing this fairly recently. We started it with the sci-fi video, and then with the Burning Man video, and then with the Megacities video. So when I started the YouTube channel, I was doing the whole process by myself, like the ideating, the scripting, the research, the editing. In the beginning, that was fine, because I was just doing the talking in front of the camera videos. But as soon as I wanted to improve the production quality, it became very unsustainable. And so when Raf came on board, it took a huge load off my shoulders, but that actually led to a bit of a separation in the process. For example, I would finish a script and Raf would start editing it, but we would find that a lot of the things in the research didn't really work visually. And so we would have to scrap the research and start over. And so it became very inefficient. And so a couple of months ago, Raf had this really great idea to talk about architecture in sci-fi movies. So for that, we decided to switch up the process and start collaborating right from the start. So you have 5 ideas.
Newport City from Ghost in the Shell.
No.
Neo Tokyo 3.
No.
Night City.
Oh, no.
Blade Runner 2049.
No.
Sid Mead, the neo-futurist concept artist.
Okay. And this over here is our filming station and our model making station. This is our M1 laser cutter from XTOOL. And I have used many laser cutters in my life, and this one is by far the simplest and the most intuitive. Let me just try putting in a model right here. We also plan on using this like a hot desk, so if we have an architect or an editor coming to help us out, they can sit here, which is perfect because the sway desk is super customizable. You can have up to 4 users, and each person can have their own settings with preloaded height. And once we have a full-time local person working with us, this beautiful solid wood desk will be yours. You will also get this luxury chair, which is the leather version of the U2 chair from Ergonofis, which comes in all types of finishes and colors. They're super comfortable and they can adjust to any of your ergonomic needs. So we did originally think about placing the laser cutter on one of the desks because we do have a fairly large work surface, because these Ergonofis desks are really sturdy. This shift desk can hold up to 300 pounds and the sway desk can hold up to 360 pounds. So this laser cutter, which is only 20 pounds, would have been no problem. But it just felt like a massive waste of desk space. We decided to put these on the EKET units. These are the deeper 12-inch units attached back to back in the most barbaric way with Velcro. We can store materials underneath, and on the back side, we can store leftover materials or things that we rarely use. When you're working at a firm, you will start to get to a point in your career where your growth starts to slow down. So in the first few years of your time at the firm, your growth is super fast. But as you keep going, it starts to slow down. But that's also when your contribution to the firm starts to increase and you become more valuable to the firm. You'll probably start to make a little bit more money because you can actually spend your time executing the tasks to make the machine run. But at this point, in terms of growth, you're actually giving more than you're gaining. So when I realized I had a really unique niche, mixing architecture and film, I saw a really good business opportunity. And because I had a very specific goal in mind, I kind of realized that there weren't really any way for me to gain those skills working at the firm. I feel like there's this mentality in architecture that you have to work under someone, that you have to intern under someone for like years and years and years to become a good architect. But I have come to believe that once you have the fundamental skills, it's a matter of gathering knowledge. And there's a much faster way for you to gather knowledge than spending 8 hours a day at the office magically trying to absorb that information. And you can do that either through focused learning, taking classes or reading or reaching out to your network. And this isn't just for architecture, this is with other disciplines as well. So now I'm here, or maybe here, with the YouTube, the business, the architecture, and it's painful and it's daunting, but I wake up every single morning excited to go to work. And I think for the first time in my life, I'm 100% aligned in what I want to do and what I'm doing. So I think this business is multidisciplinary. Part YouTube, part video production, part architecture, part design, and part communication. There's not a lot of models to go off of, but I do know that they all have a very symbiotic relationship. I love that word. On the YouTube side, we really want to increase the production quality of every single one of our videos. And we also want to experiment with documentary style videos. In the architecture side, I'm probably not going to work on massive project as of now, but I'm still really excited to start doing projects under my own name. And it's not just that. In the last couple of years, I've had the chance to work with a lot of companies that are developing really cutting edge technology in architecture that I believe is going to move the industry forward. But I've never really had the chance to use it on a project because most architecture practices don't really adopt new tools, because it's a huge learning curve and it's a huge expense, even though they can improve the performance and the process. So I'm super excited to start implementing some of these tools on my project. We're actually looking for a local editor and an architect, so if you're interested, I'll leave the link in the description. If you have any questions around any of this, let me know in the comments. I know that starting your own business can be really daunting. For example, I had no idea how much all of this background stuff was going to cost, like getting your liability insurance and your certificate of practice. And so I will try to be as transparent with that stuff as possible. If you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing, I have a newsletter where I share things that I sometimes prefer not to share in a YouTube video. So I'll leave the link to that. And I also have a Discord server where you can ask questions to each other. I'll leave the link to that in the description as well. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video.